Orgasmic enlightenment, where the sexual and spiritual come together. I'm Kim Anami, and I'm a holistic sex and relationship coach and a vaginal weightlifter. In this show, we explore all things intimate. I believe that our sexual energy is life force, creative energy, and we can use it to shape our worlds, strengthen our relationships, and self-actualize. I blend the most avant-garde information from neuroscience, ancient sexual practices like Tantra and Taoism, to renegade wellness modalities to show you how to create gourmet sex in your lives. Come one, come all. Full body orgasms. So I'm here in Bali. We're on the Bali Bliss Retreat, and it's dawn. I'm going to go teach a sexercise class in about 45 minutes. And so recording the podcast before that, you can hear the early morning bird song in the background. I don't know if it'll come through the mic or not, but we have background music. So the elusive full body orgasm. This is one of the holy grails in the sex world. Mysterious and unattainable, like men who can have sex for hours and women who can ejaculate across the room and couples who can come together. So what exactly is a full body orgasm? Just like it sounds, this is an orgasm that you feel throughout your entire body. It starts at your genitals, and then waves of bliss and pleasure radiate out through your torso, your arms, your legs, and even up through your head and your face. And it feels as though every cell in your body is having an orgasm. People often report feeling shaking and tingling in their hands and their feet, and even that their faces go numb. And not just for a few seconds. Full body orgasms often go on for minutes and hours, days even. You walk around feeling like your entire body is one giant honeypot of bliss. So I've pretty much made a good case for why to have one, but let's explain this a little bit further. So knowing that sex is a major energy source, I love to have a lot of it. And so I'm also very interested in mastery and transcendence, where I feel like I move into a new state of consciousness in myself, and I'm constantly growing and evolving. So applied to sex, this means that I'm looking at how to amplify the power and the energy and the pleasure that sex gives us. Most people, even if they're sexually active, they don't harness and utilize the power of their sexual energy. They leak it out unconsciously. Every time you have sex, you have the power to create new life. So what if you can take that power and channel it into your day-to-day existence? You can. The life force energy that's the essence of our sexual connection builds and peaks at orgasm. Most sexual encounters follow a similar trajectory. There is an ascension. We reach a peak of pleasure at orgasm. There's usually contractions if you have clitoral or penile orgasms, and a burst of ecstasy. And then we feel this energetic descent. So what if there doesn't have to be a decline? Well, there doesn't. So you can tap into that cycle and draw that energy back in for yourself. After sex, you ought to feel vibrant, witty, calm, heart-centered, beautiful, tingly all over, and happy to be alive. And if you don't feel that way, you're not doing it right. And I'm serious, because if you're building energy in sex, to me, that's the optimal use of sex. If you're losing energy, then that's the not so optimal use. Men are especially vulnerable to this energy loss. The cliche of the man who has sex and rolls over and goes to sleep is a cliche for a reason, because it happens far too often. One of the major reasons I took up Tantra and Taoist sexual energy practices beyond just the spiritual dimension that they add to sex was so that I could train my lovers to last much longer. I love marathon sex. I love to go deeper and deeper and experience this sense of transcending in myself and getting to new levels with my partner. I get really high off of this kind of gourmet 5-star sex, and it feeds my relationship and my entire life. life. And this is why I'm so into 3-hour sex dates, sex weekends, and sex weeks. And as I said, I'm on a sex week right now. I'm here with a bunch of couples and I'm making them have sex every day, all day. Well, not all day, just several hours a day. And I'm showing them how to have full body orgasms, among other types of orgasms. You'll meet a few of these beautiful, well-fucked people a bit later in the episode. So how do you feel after a full body orgasm? Well, instead of feeling spent and depleted, you feel energized and you feel rejuvenated. Instead of withdrawing from your partner, kind of back into yourself, you still have this sexual energy, this kinetic hum that flows between you, even when you walk out of the bedroom or the car or the kitchen counter, wherever you were. You wear the glow of a well-fucked person. You emit this kind of radiance and magnetism that's the hallmark of a person who's well fucked and inhabiting their sexual energy. It's palpable. And I love to see this on my retreats because people walk in and they're whatever, just humdrum. Sometimes they're actually exhausted. You know, it's been a big journey to get here. And then I watch them perk up over the week. And it's amazing to see the radiance and beauty that then just flows out of them. It's palpable. You can totally see it and feel it. And you're literally spreading your sexual energy all over your body and you're wearing it like clothing. And this is an aura that you inhabit. And as I said, people can see that and feel it in you. So which brings us to the big question, how do you have one? So it's a combination of things. The first factor is something I've talked about in other podcasts, like in the gourmet sex concept, is that you have to feel open and surrendered and relaxed. So with your partner, if you're with a partner, you can still have these by yourself, but if you're with a partner, you have to feel that the space is clear between you, meaning that you're in a good flow together, you feel open, the communication channels are clear, you're not in a place of defensiveness. No good orgasms or any orgasms at all happen from that place. So openness is key. And the second important factor would be breathing. And I talk about this all the time in my work about the importance of breathing deeply during sex. The way to get to all of these wild and amazing places is to expand and recirculate your sexual energy. So at that orgasmic peak that I described, most people eject out all of that high quality energy out of their bodies. And instead, you're going to bring it back in. And you do this through the breathing. If you practice yoga, this will be easy for you because you're always doing this 4-count inhale, 4-count exhale, beautiful vinyasa flow breath, and that will serve you very well here. As we see in yoga, breath carries energy. We would say that even one of the main points of yoga is the movement of energy, releasing and clearing stagnant energy and bringing awareness to unconscious areas in our physical and emotional bodies. The poses are simply vehicles for this process. The same applies in sex. By ensuring that we breathe steadily throughout the sexual encounter, we redistribute our sexual energy throughout our bodies. This sexual energy is even stronger and denser than regular chi or prana. In fact, the Taoists had a separate name for it. They called it Ji or Ji. So when we recirculate this potent Ji throughout our systems, less of it escapes at the moment of orgasm. In fact, it doesn't have to escape at all. Most people tend to hold the breath, breathe very shallow, and tighten up the body as they approach orgasm. All of these things curtail your flow of energy. Imagine having sex that's like a yoga class. You breathe steadily throughout. When you get into a demanding position, instead of holding your breath in panic, you train yourself to breathe even deeper, and it carries you through to the other side. Afterwards, you feel like you broke through some stuck part of yourself and you've grown. And you do this exactly the same way in sex. You use your sex and you use your breath to find your stuck and inflexible areas and you release them. It's very, very powerful. So let's say you're there's two elements to that. You could be in a very tempting position, like often for men, having their partner bent over in doggy style is quite erotic and sends them very much faster over the edge. So you train yourself to breathe and breathe and breathe, and you make it through without popping over the edge. Or even if you're in this slightly uncomfortable place, or you feel like something's welling up inside of you, I'm always talking about the multidimensional elements of sex. This is not just just a physical experience. We're looking for emotional, psychological, spiritual breakthrough in our sex lives. And so when you feel like you're coming up against some kind of part of yourself that might have been buried, that you're afraid to go towards, you keep breathing and you move through it. So what happens is that when you expand this flow of sexual energy, then you expand the experience of orgasm. It goes from being a very distinct burst of pleasure to a feeling that spreads throughout the entire body, giving rise to the term full body orgasm. And it goes on and on and on for hours, sometimes days. Even when the physical contact stops between the two of you, the energy, the feelings carry on. So imagine being perched on the edge of orgasm all night or day. You can ride this edge for as long and as deeply as you can breathe. And although this might sound torturous to some, although I'd argue it's a good kind of torture, it's actually pure euphoria. You feel this bliss and this tingling and this hum, as I said, of sexual energy that's just flowing constantly between you. So even if your partner is elsewhere, like they go off to work and you're still at home or vice versa or whatever, you can still tune into this energy. It's still humming and vibrating inside of you because you haven't just dumped all of it out at the point of orgasm. And this keeps you more at what I call a sexual simmer. So that flow of sexual energy is higher between you. And when you come together again, you don't have to start from scratch. You're already quite warmed up. It's like you're living in the state of perpetual foreplay. And you feel revitalized, you feel connected, you feel tuned into the rhythm and the flow of life. This also puts you in the running with Sting for marathon sex as you learn how to capitalize on this feeling of going on and on and on, and this skill of having very significant stamina. Now, speaking of all-star fuckers, let's chat with a few people from my Bali Bliss Retreat. So we're only a few days into the week, and we've already got some notable all-stars. They've been diligent about following my instructions, and they've got some epic full-body orgasm stories for you. Well-fucked all-stars! We're here with Patrick and Adriana, who are a well-fucked all-star couple on the Bali Bliss Retreat. We're live here, and I wanted to chat with them and have them share with you their experiences in achieving full body orgasm. So we're on today's day 4 of the retreat, but I guess it was day maybe even 2 and 3 that they've already had these experiences. So tell us, in your words, what was it like having a full body orgasm? How would you describe it?
It's like electricity. And for me, the electricity was coming from my organs, my vagina, all the way up to my head. And then you kind of lose consciousness a little bit. And instead of crashing down, it's a low gliding down, back, peaceful. It's very different.
So how is that different from your regular orgasm then?
Well, first, previously, throughout the 20 years that we've been together, the previous orgasms were more of a chase. We're trying hard to get there. You clench all your muscles, and then you, basically through the clitoral stimulation, you spike, and then you crash. And when you crash, you're kind of out of breath. Feels like you're at the end of a race. And it's gone. And with the full body orgasm, it's not totally gone. It kind of stays there as you're landing, very peaceful. It takes time to land down, to come back to earth, so to speak.
You still retain a lot of that energy.
Yes, you're not tired at all. After we were sitting up and talking and chatting, and we went out at the patio and we had like a great conversation because we were not tired.
Excellent. So how did that feel? Describe more if you had an emotional feeling accompanying that.
So I think previously is when you have like a very hard laugh. And this is like more of a bliss or happiness that puts that smile on your face and stays. It's not necessarily that ha ha ha, but it's like whoa, and that smile that you can almost hear the smile on people's voices, and that just stays very peaceful. The after landing is very peaceful.
That's awesome. So Patrick, how would you describe it? You're having a birthday, and so for your birthday, you got the present of a full body orgasm and a gorgeous cock massage on top to boot. But tell us about your full body orgasm.
I think it's similar to what Adriana said. It's different. Mine was a steady build. And I think one of the things that we learned on your retreat was how important the breathing process is. And through controlling my breathing, was able to just enjoy things for a lot longer. And I found that the longer I enjoyed it, the more relaxed I became. And, in the past, I think, when you're going to orgasm, I think you sort of get really excited, you clench up, and then there's the moment. And in this case, I was able to just relax. And as I did that, my whole body got relaxed. And, it just was the most beautiful thing to just succumb. And you're right, in this case, it was her giving me pleasure. And it was just laying there and receiving was just gorgeous. And I think probably about 3/4 of the way through, I found myself just completely leaning back, closing my eyes, and it felt like I was floating. And at the climax, it was incredible. I mean, I wished I could have gone longer, but I was enjoying it so much. It was just time. And when it happened, I was warm all over. My chest felt hot. My arms were shuddering. My arms were shaking like I had been doing 100 push-ups, and they were just so fatigued. But I was laying with my arms free, but they just felt exhausted. And I could feel like pulsing electric pulses in my fingertips. And my whole hands felt like I got these shocking feelings, like those carnival things where you touch the electricity or something. It was incredible. And as she said, when I sat up, I was just in this nirvana for a while. It took probably 3 or 4 minutes for that tingly feeling to go away. And there was so much joy and satisfaction, obviously, but just really pleasurable feeling rather than this collapse that I might typically have from a shorter orgasm.
Wonderful. Oh, it sounds amazing. You're just selling it to everybody.
We
Run out and
Come and get it.
It's available to you too.
That's so awesome. I'm so proud of you for the work that you've done. Like, put in the work, get the reward.
Oh, my pleasure, mistress.
No, I think, we probably wouldn't have gotten there, I think, without at least the visualization of what's possible, right? Hey, we thought we were pretty well fucked before we came, And I think with the coaching, it's like, try it another way. And I think to me, the two things that have helped a lot were just the breathing and the communication. And sometimes when partners are together, we have to pace each other or know where you are. Mm-hmm. And so we checking in and where are you? Are you at a 6 or a 7? And dialing it up and holding it.
So in your salons, you talk about the 3-hour sex date. And before we were here, I go like, are you kidding me? This will never happen. And because I always go from like 1, 5, 7 to 10 in 60 seconds, it's so hard for me to hold that old orgasm that spikes and crashes. And day 2, I'm like learning to hover. Oh my good gracious. The second day when we hover and really, really applied all the teachings and the conversations that we're having here, we hovered for 2 hours.
Amazing.
And that's when I got my full body orgasm, which is, if you had told me the day before that I would last in bliss for 2 hours, I wouldn't believe it.
Yeah, I think the most interesting part about it, it's kind of like the longer you go, the warmer you get, and the warmer you get, the more easily that pleasure can just go throughout your whole body. Mm-hmm. And you've talked about this in terms of, the woman opening up for the man, and it takes a long time to really open to receive. And there's a physical and a psychological parallel with that. The physical one is the body's getting warmer, the body's getting more limber, and the sensations, obviously the nerves are firing more and more and more. But as the body limbers up, it loosens up, and the pleasure has farther to go throughout the body. And I think psychologically, that was my interpretation of what happened, is that energy just went throughout my whole body as opposed to staying concentrated around my cock. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
yeah.
I don't know, you've been a good teacher in this, but that was how I visualized what happened. It was just, I was so relaxed, and it just went everywhere. It was just awesome.
Love it. All stars. Yay. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, my love.
Well fucked all stars. And now we have Heidi with us. Heidi's a well-fucked all-star on the Bali Bliss Retreat. Welcome, Heidi.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. The well-fucked all-stars live at the Bali Bliss Retreat. You just have them lining up at the door.
Yeah, it's been a momentous week for a lot of us. So it's been exciting new times and new discoveries. So we've had a fantastic time so far.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So tell us, you have had your first full-body orgasm, and what, day 2?
Yeah, I think it was day 1.
Day 1?
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us, how does it feel and how did you get there?
Okay, so I've always had clitoral orgasms, which I thought were the be-all or end-all, or maybe the only type of orgasm, until we started the retreat and actually learned there was a whole other buffet or smorgasbord of orgasms that we could be having. And both my partner and I have always, to use Kim's phrase, humped, dumped and slumped after having an orgasm. And so the first technique that Kim got us to do was to get ourselves worked up to about, an 8 out of 10, and then just deep breathe and pull back, and then try this 3 to 4 times. So the first time that we got up to an 8 or 10, or when I did, and then my partner pulled away and I had started the deep breathing, I actually was thinking, wow, this is such a tease. Sexual frustration was high. But like good students, we kept at it. So the second time that we reached kind of that 8 to 10, then I started to feel this very light tingling in my hands, like a very faint pins and needles. And then once we got to the third time, it was almost like this electric current that was running through my body. So the pins and needle feeling in my hands became so strong that I thought that if I had touched my partner, that I would actually give him an electric shock.
Whoa.
And this kind of current, as I described, went all through my torso and into my head and then eventually down my legs. So, and I actually kind of had to stop my partner. And I was like, I feel like my whole body is just almost electrocuted. It was incredible. Nothing I'd ever experienced before. And then the energy that was prolonged after that was crazy. And just in terms of, it meant throughout the entire sex session, we stayed completely lubricated and had energy to keep going. So it was almost a complete 180 to what I'd experienced previously with orgasms.
That's amazing. And so quickly that you could have that kind of a dramatic shift.
Exactly.
So
when I'd never experienced that before ever. Yeah.
That's amazing. Testament to your focus and dedication.
That's it. And of course, all the skills and handiwork that we'd learnt from you beforehand. So, yeah.
Would you say that there was any kind of emotional accompaniment to it, or was it more physical for you?
not so much emotional, but in saying that, we had worked on our blocks, my partner and I, earlier. We didn't have a lot, but I think it's probably just talking through issues that maybe we had or that could arise in the future probably just meant my inner self was like very calm and at peace, and I'm sure that probably had a part to play with actually experience that full body orgasm as well.
Fantastic. Anything else you want to add?
Not really, but I'm excited. We're at day 4 now, learning more and more new things, and each day is a new discovery. And both my partner and I have we always pinch ourselves with how happy we are that we actually came, because not only can we be better partners to each other, but I feel like we have these amazing tools, for the bedroom, but also for our relationship, that we're just going to go from strength to strength.
Love it. And I just have to say, obviously you listening can't see her, but she has the total look of a well-fucked woman.
Yes.
The way that you looked a few days ago when I first saw you, and now totally different.
Absolutely.
Like really radiant, beautiful, sensual, open in the face, like very, very attractive, like magnetically attractive. And you're agreeing with me? Like
Absolutely.
You can see the difference?
Yesterday evening, I've never felt sexier in my life, and my partner, just us talking to each other across the table at dinner, and the looks we'd give each other, he'd constantly be like, oh no, now I've got another boner. So just like the energy and the magnetism between us it's palpable. It's amazing. It's life-changing. Yeah.
So good. You're so inspiring. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
And that's our show for today. As the Orgasm Fairy, I have a very busy day ahead of me, lots of orgasms to grant, so I must be off. If you're interested in the Bali Bliss Retreat or my Orgasmic Enlightenment Retreat in Mexico, I do these each once a year, and they tend to sell out very quickly, and we have long waiting lists. But if you're interested, email us and get yourself on the wait list. And my Coming Together for Couples salon begins today. This is my signature 10-week online salon for couples. We explore everything from the elements of gourmet sex to conscious monogamy to multiple full-body ejaculatory and energy orgasms. Yes, these are orgasms you can have without even touching your partner. Are you coming? Thank you so much for listening. If you haven't already, subscribe and also leave a review. And send someone else the gift of a healthy libido and an off-the-charts love life by sharing this episode with them. We'll be back next week, and in the meantime, many happy orgasms.